What's up, YouTube? This is the unboxing of the Miller Multimatic 220 AC/DC multi-process welder. Does TIG, MIG, and stick. Like I said before, AC/DC, so you have the potential to do aluminum. I had a Miller Multimatic 215. It's also a multi-process welder. It does TIG, MIG, and stick. It's a great unit. The only thing is, without the AC, it lacked the ability to TIG weld aluminum. So I went out and purchased this, and this will be the unboxing and testing of the unit. First up, packaging, pretty standard for the most part, just like my other welder. First box out, it says the foot controller. It's the actual pedal for the TIG welding. Think of it like a throttle in your car. You depress the pedal, you'll provide more amperage and be able to penetrate through thicker metals. They do have TIG welding setups where you can actually use a thumb throttle to control the torch, but this is nice because it's a variable control. Little manual for the foot pedal. How it comes out. Pretty substantial, standard Miller product. Pretty decent. Take that, set that down for now. Let's see what else we have. Next is another manual. Guess basically all the controls of the Multimatic, the 220. That's the overall welding. Right here is, let's see, we have your gas hose that you'll be hooking up from your actual welder to your tank. Well, actually to your regulator, then to your tank. Comes with a little spool of Hobart .030 MIG wire. So you will need 75-25 argon CO2 mix for that. Has a little gauge block set so you can actually see what thickness of metal that you're going to weld. You can actually slide it up to it. Pretty good because with this welder, for the most part, it's got auto set. So what you would do is take out this little gauge set and you would slide whatever piece of metal that you have going into it, and then once you know what thickness it is, you could actually set the machine to that and then pretty much go from there. Make fine little adjustments. As I said, this is the air lines going to your regulators and then your solid MIG wire. Next, let's see. In here, we have two things. First thing we'll pull out. You get your ground clamp. Pretty decent, somewhat heavy gauge, 4-gauge wire. Miller's, for the most part, my 215 was the same as this 220. It's just a push in, twist, so it's a push lock fitting. You have the actual stinger if you wanted to do any form of stick welding. Like I said, it's a multi-process welder, MIG, TIG, and stick. Same thing, push that in, lock it, hold whatever electrode you want, whether it's 70-18, 60-10, 60-11, any of those. That's it on this one. Throw this off to the side. I'll clean that little bit of a mess up later. Let's see. Here we have your regulator. Stick over the front of it. This, it actually comes with two regulators. One of them is also in the other box. I'll just open one of them for now. But for the most part, you have your CFH, whatever you're going to set the actual flow for, whether you're welding stainless steel, mild steel, aluminum, or whatever the process is, possibly even titanium. Of course, you use whatever comfortable for you. Me personally, I've always just stood around 20 CFH. If I'm doing stainless with a larger size cup, such as like a 10 or a 12, possibly even a 14, I'll bump it up from anywhere from 25 to possibly even 30 CFH. Then here is basically the volume that's left inside the tank itself. You'll hook it up, clamp that hose onto it, turn this dial, depress the pedal, you'll see how much the flow is set at, and then pretty much dial it into whatever setting you want. That's pretty much it from that section. Move this on top of the mill table for now. What's next here? Might actually take this and move this over for now. Right on top of my milling machine. Maybe put the pedal off to the side. The overall unit itself. It's actually a fairly small unit for being able to do all three features. Like I said again, it is AC/DC, which is excellent. It's pretty nice. Already has a 220 plug in there. It is also 110 volt. You unscrew the fitting, slide it out. You can actually pop on the 110 volt plug, and then pretty much plug it right into your standard outlet. Very simple, very nice. You don't have to have two cords. Inside here is where you'll put your spool, or whatever welding wire you choose. This is that 110 volt plug. You would simply unscrew that, pop the 220 unit off, take your 110 volt, slide it in, make sure you lock it back in so it's nice and tight, plug it into your wall, and the machine will automatically adjust once you turn it on. Right now, there's a potential to run one of the larger spools, a 10 or 11 pound spool. On the back of the spool, I wish I had one here at the moment, of one of the larger ones. It actually has a little dowel pin area. You'll slide that on there. You'll take this, screw it down, it'll tighten up, and then you'll be ready to go. Over here, this is all the MIG feature. Of course, you can adjust the tension that you actually are going to be holding down on the wire. You'll feed the wire through here, through this, over one of the rollers. On the front of the roller is 025, 030, 035, and various different sizes. You'll adjust this to whatever size thickness of the wire that you're running. Slide the wire through, put the latch back down, close it, lock it up, and then send it on its way. Like I said before, today we'll be focusing on TIG welding. This is basically a registration. So once you buy a brand new one, you can register it. This way they can keep track of it, or whatever the case may be. If there are any repairs of whatsoever that you need to do, you can call up, give them your registration number. They'll be able to know exactly what unit you have. Also, for any kind of warranty purposes, you would like to register it. On here, pretty much just like a cheat sheet for the most part. Like I said, this machine has auto set, but you can actually go into a full-blown manual mode and set it to whatever you like. Some people like the auto set because it's just kind of like a set it and forget it, and it's a good stepping stone to start welding. Some metals may burn, a little bit better than others and actually start to fuse more, but that all depends on you. Some people like to weld a little bit hotter than the factory settings that they have in here. Some people like to weld a little bit cooler, maybe faster wire speed, slower wire speed. That's all on you, but you can get a general idea of whatever the thickness is from aluminum welding wire and MIG. That's if you have a spool gun. TIG welding parameters, stick welding parameters, steel, MIG, and or flux core. Flux core is nice because you don't need the tank. You could pretty much just get a spool of wire. It's already got a shielding on it. You clamp it right in, and you start welding. You don't have to carry a heavy tank around. It's less stuff for you to carry. The only thing is, it's not on the clean side like MIG. MIG, metal inert gas, it's excellent because it leaves a pretty clean finish and is less likely that you'll have to spend time grinding or cleaning up whatever the mess may be. Or if it's something on the cleaner side and you don't feel like pretty much spending a lot of time cleaning it, you go with MIG. There's less slag, less of a mess. We'll close this up for now. Some wrapping, put that over there. Receipt from CyberWeld. Purchased this These machines did go up in price. I remember when I first bought my 215, the 220 wasn't allowed, or wasn't out yet. But, I mean, a couple months later this came out. And I was like, whatever, I'll do without it. I had another TIG welder. I had a Lincoln Square Wave 200. Pretty good unit. I liked it, but then eventually I wanted to get all in one. This way I didn't have two welders moving around and everything else like that. The nice thing is about this welder, it's on the back of it. If you rotate it, you have two ports. You can hook up your MIG and your TIG at the same exact time. And you don't have to really go back and forth with switching procedures, this and that. If you have the MIG in and you're doing MIG welding, you're sitting there. Say if you're doing a stainless manifold on a car and you happen to just want to tack weld everything in place, it's a lot easier with the MIG gun. You can get in a tight area, tack, 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 tack. Bring over the TIG torch, touch the foot pedal, and as long as everything was already dialed in beforehand and you're ready to go, you could switch over instantly just by tapping the actual pedal itself. Then you get to the next piece, you want to tack it again, you go back with your MIG wire, MIG gun I should say, and tack the next piece and go on so forth and so forth. You can have two bottles hooked up at the same time. Very excellent feature, very great by Miller. This unit is a little bit on the pricier side. I looked at the Everlast, I looked at Lincoln's versions or something similar to it. I never had an issue with my Miller, my 215. I've used it, dropped it down the stairs, I dropped it out of a truck, and it still turns on at the end of the day. So I decided to stay with what I've been using, and that's about it. I'm no professional welder in any which way. I do a lot of hobby related things, but I don't know. I'd rather buy it once than save a little bit and then happen to buy it twice. So here's the MIG torch. Pretty standard, nice, pretty rigid. I mean, there's not really much to really say about it. That's it. You would end up putting this, slide this right through there. It'll come out right over here, and you'll cinch it down there. You're gonna hold it in place. Then all the wire will feed through this, come eventually out of the tip. And that's pretty much about it. Like I said, we're not gonna focus on this today, so I'll keep this in the box. I'll actually put this stick weld stinger back in the box. I'm not gonna focus on that today either. Next, which I'd assume is the last piece in this box, you can kind of take this and move it off to the side for now, I believe would be, yes, correct, the TIG torch. It's got a nice little cover on it. It's nice. I mean, kind of wish they had some kind of like maybe fiberglass sheathing over this just in case to kind of give it a little bit extra protection. Granted, you shouldn't be dragging this around all kinds of odd objects anyway, but in the event that you're welding on a car and you got some sharp metal somewhere along the lines, it'd be nice to go around it and not have to worry about possibly cutting the hose. Put that zip tie, take that off, unravel it. Decent size. I believe this is a size 17 torch. Standard collet body. Number 7 cup. There is a piece of tungsten in there. I'll get to that in a moment. Let me take this, let's see, TIG. All right, there we go. Top port is TIG. You take this, you'll find the little keyway, line it up, slide it in, twist it, locked, now you're ready to go. Take the little cover off, drop that off to the side, unravel this a little bit. It's been coiled up this whole time. Obviously overuse, after use for a while, you'll start to lose that memory that's in there. And here we have a little package, which I'd assume is basic consumables to get you started, which is nice. So yeah, we got 3 other collet bodies in here, probably a different diameters, 1/8 pops, possibly 3/32, or maybe even 1/16. Have a couple of cups in there, a 6, I believe an 8, possibly a 4. Let's see. Got a little knife. So, happen to drop two here. Judging by that, that's a 1/16 collet body, 3/32, and a 1/8. And drop it again. That, throw that in there. What do we have in here currently? This is a gray tungsten. I'm guessing it's a multi-mix tungsten. I'm not 100% too familiar with them. I'll keep the 7 on just for the display purposes. Usually I like to use probably about a 4. Now usually you have a gas saver of some sort. I'm just going to clean this up. Ideally not the best way to sharpen a tungsten. This is just on a belt sander. I'm just doing it for display purposes. I do have a tungsten grinder. I just obviously can't find it in this little bit of a disaster right now, but we'll see how this turns out. So put a little point on it. To be honest, aluminum, I believe on the older style machines, you'd want like a bold tip. Honestly, I don't make it too fine of a point. You know, close enough. That's pretty much about it. Like I said, I'm no expert welder, but I have played around with it for a little bit of time. Put the extras in there. Toss this off to the side. Put that on top of the mill. See that. Yeah, there we go. So pretty much some of the facts on the torch. I'm guessing it's a 150 amp rated torch. I believe, is this a flex head? Yes, it is a flex head, which is pretty nice. It's a size WP17. Basically all different parts, diagrams, and I guess order numbers just in case you wanted to replace some of the mixed parts. Usually I tend to run a gas lens. You say it saves a little bit of gas. Honestly, I don't really weld enough to really say if it really does or not. I guess maybe if I was running a business or something like that, then maybe I'd be able to tell you, but for the most part I do not know. Get rid of that box. There's my receipt from CyberWeld. Here's the owner's manual once again, and a foot control pedal. Honestly, I've used my 215, so I'm pretty familiar with the controls. I will go over it with you guys. I'm assuming it'll be the same thing. Let's see. Cut the zip tie off. And let's get ready to set up the foot pedal. The foot pedal, pretty much you got, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different pins that are going in there, and there is a slotted keyway. You'll bring it right over to the top selection of this. And it looks like it should be somewhat to the right. You can actually see that. You'll slide it in. Make sure it's engaged first before you actually start to rotate this, because you do not want to cross thread it. It is plastic. Not that you can't get a replacement. It'd be nice to just have it work right the first time. Keep going until it bottoms out. It does slide in first before you start rotating. As you rotate it, it'll slowly start to pull in the actual connector. And now the foot pedal's in. The TIG torch is in. The next thing would be the ground clamp. Ground clamp, pretty standard, like I said before, 4-gauge wire. Pretty heavy clamp, looks pretty decent. I do like the solid brass ones that you can get. I believe Weldmonger might have that on their site, or something along the lines of that. There's multiple places that sell them, but these work, they're perfect. They've been around since the beginning of time. It's fine. Take this, put that into the last port on the bottom, turn it, into the right, now it's locked. Now that's pretty much set up. Let's go to the rear of the machine once again, and we will locate your 2 different things. So it's actually labeled for you, which is nice. The MIG port is on the bottom, and it has a little cap in there. So if you do get the welder and you don't plan on MIG welding just yet, and you don't want to leave the port open, I would keep these little caps. There's no harm in them. Keep any kind of moisture out, dust out, debris out. pull out the MIG cap, take that, put that there. So from what it looks like, looks pretty straightforward. This is slightly a little different than my other welder. My other welder, I believe the gas port came with 2 male fittings and there was a female fitting on the other regulator, so it just screwed in there and it also screwed in here. But there's no harm in it. Same thing. Take it, place it into the spot, righty tighty, turn it in. There's not much force to tighten this, and I believe they're brass fittings, possibly bronze. I believe they're brass. So you don't really need to hammer down and crank on them because you do not want to round them out. Brass is a soft metal to begin with. Just a little snug. I was with an adjustable. I believe it might be 11/16, I think. Maybe. It's actually not. Yeah, if you wanted to actually do it with an actual wrench, it'd be 11/16. But like I said, you can use an adjustable. I wouldn't really use a set of channel locks just because it kind of mars it up a little bit. Like I said before, it's a very soft material. That's pretty much about it. On the regulator itself, you have the actual little port right here on the left side beneath the CFH gauge, which is the flow that's actually going to the welder itself. It's got a little barbed fitting on here. Take that, it's a push style. You literally sit there, kind of wiggle it back and forth, give it a little bit of a twist as you slide it on. Keep going until it bottoms out right up against the end. Once you bottom out up against the bottom of the nut, it does come with this one-time use clamp. I mean, I will probably eventually switch it to a hose clamp of some sort, or maybe even a fuel line clamp, just because it's more of like a band clamp style instead of this little squeeze. Like I said, there isn't a lot of flow, it's not a lot of PSI that's flowing out of here. But to eliminate the chance of a leak, I would definitely probably switch that out. The other side, this would be the port that goes into the regulator. I mean, actually into the actual TIG tank itself. Take this, I have my tank over here. Rotate it a little forward. Same thing. Turn it right, righty tighty. It's pretty straightforward fitting. Keep going. It's a decent amount of threads, but it will go. Eventually bottom out. The fitting itself is tapered, so at the end of it, it will actually seat like that. Think of it similar to like a brake line. Once again, I'm using an adjustable wrench. Not 100% sure what the actual size would be on this. Possibly, from what the looks of it, maybe it's 1 1/8 inches, I believe. Possibly just by looking at it. Not 100% sure yet. That's it. But like I said, you don't really need to go too crazy with it. So I can see it. And next thing would be the power line. Power line, I'm actually going to be running it on 220. You can run it on 110. Obviously 220 has greater potential of the metals that you can actually weld as far as thickness wise. I've always liked 220, but in the event that you are a hobbyist and you don't have the access to 220 right away, you can plug this in. Auto set will adjust the amperage right off the bat once you plug in whatever thickness of the metal that you're going to weld, and pretty much you can start welding. I have a heavy gauge cord here. I don't really like to run extension cords, especially with welders, because obviously the better the amperage, the better. The more amperage, the more stable. But if you have a heavy gauge cord, this is actually a cord made out of 6-3 wire. It's capable of handling it, no problem. So that's that. Power button should be right up top. This will be the first time powering it on. You heard the click. It did go on. Let's see. Actually might route this a little different because I'm not sure how I'm going to use this bench. With all this stuff in the way. It's a little bit of a disaster, but make do with what you have. Nice thing about this welder, same thing like the 215, I'm guessing. I'm not sure, I haven't even used it yet. This is the first time even turning it on. Well, one, it actually has this nice little plate over the front, which is cool. Please remove the protective film before use. This way you can obviously see it. Throw that off. I'll clean that up a little bit later. Take this, slide it over. It's a little piece of plastic that slides in front of the screen to protect it, I guess, from any kind of sparks or embers if you're cutting anything, spraying it towards it. I personally wouldn't, but whatever. Nice feature about this machine, I'm guessing it has it because my 215 has it. When you depress the pedal, the fan should come on. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Use argon gas, take steel. Let's go over to the front of this. Let me see if I could walk you guys through this a little bit easier. Let me come and grab you guys. So, right off the bat, let's see if we could focus here. You got the different processes. Flux cord, MIG stainless, MIG steel C25, MIG steel C100, which would basically mean 100% CO2. C25 is 25% CO2 and I believe 75% argon. You have MIG aluminum, TIG steel / stainless, and stick. Basically, you would push these buttons and it'll tell you right there on the screen as well. Stick output, obviously it's not there. It'll tell you actually how to set it up for the most part, which ports. So we're gonna go to TIG aluminum. Use 100% argon gas. The TIG torch will be in the top port, the ground will be on the bottom. Auto set on and off, which is pretty cool. Honestly, I've never really used auto set on a TIG welder before. Like I said, I do have the 215. With the MIG function, I mean, I've used it multiple times. I do like it. We have, as far as the starts, you have lift arc remote, lift arc, and high frequency. I like high frequency. It's always worked for me. I can't really complain about it, so I've stuck with that. Lift arc is pretty cool as well, but I don't know, I tend to do better with high frequency. Like I said, everybody has their own preference. 1/8 of a thickness material in the 220 setting. Let's see what we can go up to. So it says 24, not 24, sorry about that. 1/4 inch thick material it's capable of going to and going down. 22 gauge steel. Now, granted, depending on how you prepare the metal, whether you bevel it or it's just a flat butt weld, determines on what you can actually get away with as far as thicknesses. If you bevel it a decent amount, you do a series of beads and whatnot, I'm sure it'll be capable of welding much thicker than that. The tungsten that's in there is 332nd. It's the gray multi-mix tungsten. We're gonna come over to the torch, not the torch, the tank. Crack this open. And for the most part, we have in between 15 and 2000 PSI in the tank. Still plenty to go. The regulator's not set to anything. So as you turn this right, you will start to basically get some type of reading. Right now it's on 20 CFH, but the thing is that it's static pressure. Once you actually step on the pedal, you could see how much it drops. So you could hear the gas coming out in the background. We'll level it out at 20. It's still actually going even though I'm not depressing the pedal. That's the post flow on it. Right now we are on TIG aluminum, 332nd. The thickness is 1/4 inch. I'll grab a piece of aluminum. Let's see what we have here. Got a nice piece of aluminum. Do a little bit of cleaning on it. Like I said, this is that little gauge. You can't really see too much. And here I'm actually holding it upside down. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can maybe cast a shadow over there so you can see it. All the different sizes. And it'll give you like a rough roundabout of what you should run with it. You would take that, and now you would take it and slide it over. This is about a hair bigger than the 1/4 inch that's there. So I'm gonna just crank this all the way up. Honestly, you can turn the auto set off and just max out whatever amps you want. So for some reason I'm only getting 210 amps. Let's see the frequency. What do we got? The max is 150. We'll go down to 60. I like the high frequency. I keep it maxed out. It tends to be, I guess, a more focus speed, thinner for the most part, that I feel. The balance is 75. I'm not sure if you can adjust that balance. Actually, you can. I mean, I tend to keep that. I can keep that at 75. Oh, Pro Set. I'm not even sure. So Pro Set, I guess that's exactly what it recommends at that. And I guess we'll give that a shot. Let me set you guys back down over here. It's a little bit of a disaster in here. My dirt bike's here. My tremendous lathe that should be on a battleship. I'll clamp you guys back. See if we can zoom in a little bit. Bring it a little closer if we can. Let's see. Bring it over. Slide this a little bit over just to give me a little bit more room to work with. Should have safety glasses. I don't have. I get stuff in my eyes every day. Let me actually grab a shot. Better to be safe than sorry. Take this. Just a little flapper disc on an angle grinder, nothing too special. To be honest, I mean, this isn't the best way to clean it, but it does work. One thing I like to do is I get these from CVS, any kind of like pharmaceutical place or Walgreens or whatever. It's alcohol pads. You could use them, you know, to clean your kid's cut when they fall and scrape their knee on their bicycle. Take it. It's basically just regular isopropyl alcohol. Wipe down the area as best as you can. Like I said, I'm just doing this for demonstration right now. I'm not doing anything too crazy. Let's see what we have here. We got some weld coat ER 4043 332nd tungsten. I'm not even sure what type of aluminum this is. This could be, you know, could be 4043, could be 5053. I'm not even 100% sure. I'm just going at it. I also take the alcohol pad and just give it one quick wipe over it, just to clean it up a little bit. Like I said, this isn't 100% a proper way. This is more just a quick demonstration. Me personally, I like to just clamp this to a solid piece of steel that I could leave down, like that. Now this whole table's technically charged at that point. Take these glasses off. Got a pair of gloves. Tillman, regular TIG gloves. Some guys, they run, you know, pretty much anything, just for leather pair of gloves to anything they get their hands on. Take this pedal, move it out of the way. Get a chair here. I mean, for the cost of the welder, I would have liked to have some consumables with it, such as, you know, filler wire, a couple of different pieces here and there. They do give you the MIG wire, which is good. I mean, but I don't know, for that price, I think they could have thrown in something like that. I believe when I bought my 215, I got an actual helmet with it as well, which was pretty cool. But other than that, that's about it. Let's see. Sit down here. This will be the first weld. Like I said, I maxed out the amperage. I'll use the foot pedal to control it. Not a professional welder. It isn't 100% the right way to do it. This is the only way I know how to do it. 332nd tungsten. The frequency set at 150. The balance is set at 75. It says 210 amps. If you depress it, I mean, it says it goes all the way up to there. It's on high frequency. We got 20 CFH coming out of the regulator. Tank's wide open. Here's the first pass. Got a cool down session afterwards. You can hear the fan. The fan only kicks on when the welder is being used, and I guess a little bit afterwards to cool it down. Not my best speed, but the first one welding with it takes a little bit to get used to. I'm sure in some time I will get better with it. We'll take this, set this off to the side. Not the best, but as the first weld goes, let me come around so I can see how it's going. Not terrible, not great. I did dip the tungsten a little bit, which is not the greatest to do. This is just laying on top. This isn't obviously fully penetrated of any which way, but just doing a little bit on top just to see how I could actually get the arc to start, how the puddle flowed and everything else like that. I'll actually resharpen that tungsten just because I did dip it. It's not really the best to continue. Honestly, when you do dip it, you really should stop, regrind it, and start fresh. I will do more videos on this with the MIG setup, possibly the stick setup. I don't do too much stick welding, but you know, for the purpose of displaying the machine, because I've seen multiple, people that ran this thing on YouTube. A lot of people seem to like it. I mean, to be honest, my first impression of it, I like it. Honestly, I think I might be biased towards Miller, but it's never gave me a problem, so I can't see a reason not to be biased towards it. Take this, we'll give it another shot. See if we can get this a little bit cleaner here. Second bead. Definitely a little bit to get used to. The foot placement on the pedal is a little bit different than my Lincoln. This Miller pedal, I'll actually pick it up. Pop this off for a moment. Here's my hat. Miller pedal's pretty cool. I mean, my Lincoln didn't have an actual rest for my heel, so I tend to just put my foot on the floor and use the front of my foot to actually depress the pedal. This, my foot being up here, is a little bit different than what I am used to, so it did take a little bit. This bead came out a bit better, a bit more uniform. I was able to actually get more comfortable with my foot. Welding, although you might not always be in the most comfortable position, it is nice to be as comfortable as possible. It will be the better. It will make your weld come out better if you are fully comfortable. But in the event that you're welding a roll cage or something like that, you might not be in the most comfortable position, so it is nice to get used to welding all different types of ways. Put this back down. Let's see. We'll put a 1 next to the top, and 2 next to the bottom. This metal's so hot, it's actually destroying my paint marker. Bring it over and show you guys. So, second one a little bit more controlled. Like I said, this isn't 100%, you know, penetrated through or anything like that. This is just laying down the bead and showing how the welder actually works and stuff like that. In the future, I'll do a little bit more videos possibly or something along the lines like that. Put this on again. And let's give it a nice longer bead. Me personally, depending on if I can, I like to drape the actual TIG torch over me. This way it's a little bit less of, I guess you'd say the actual cable hanging down. Ready, lock the heel into that place, and here we go. As I said, the welder itself has its own little cool down mode, which is actually very great. It's not that I've ever burnt out a fan in a welder before, but it's just one less thing I think you'll have to worry about. The fan itself isn't constantly running. You turn the welder on, then you're cutting something, grinding something, you're coming back, that fan's still running. This thing only is running when it actually needs to be running. This was the third bead. All the settings are still the same. The actual amperage was maxed out. I just regulated with the actual foot pedal. Third bead, bring it over to you guys. Third bead is the one in the center. A little bit more uniform, kind of getting there, starting to get the hang of it. First one was the top left, bottom left is the second, and then the longer one is the third one. Once again, 332nd tungsten. It's a gray tungsten. I'm not even sure exactly which one that is. I felt really comfortable with the 2%, I believe, thoriated, which is the red tungsten, I believe, if I may be correct. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. We'll play around with the frequency. We'll leave the balance the same, but we'll drop the frequency all the way down to the other end of the spectrum, which will be 60. Give that a little go. Like I said, I like to run this behind me so I don't have a lot of the cable draping in front of me. Fourth bead on the multimatic 220. Let it cool down a little bit. Bring it over to you guys. Top bead, I believe that was 60 hertz was the frequency on that. I can't really tell too much of a difference on it, but I do have to say I did have to depress the pedal. It seemed like less. It seemed like it penetrated more. It put more heat into the part versus cleaning, I think. I guess let's play around with the balance. Drop the balance down to 60. Frequencies on 60 as well. Amps are still remaining the same. Fifth bead on the multimatic 220. .60 hertz frequency, and the balance is 60 as well. Seemed like a little bit more heat, definitely a wider bead. This guy right here, the bottom one right here, is actually what I just did. Seemed to flow a little bit smoother. It actually made the puddle a little bit more liquid, or more fluid, I guess you'd say, but that could be because I was closing in on the edge of it. Let's try the other end of the spectrum. Frequency back up to 150. Balance, let's max it out. Turn it all the way up. 80 is the balance. I'll turn this sideways just so we could stay on the clean section of it. One, two, three, four, five. This will be the sixth weld and final weld on aluminum in this video on a multimatic Miller 220. Other end of the spectrum, this vertical bead. Not that it's the greatest, not that it's the worst, just displaying it. Like I said, the prep should be a lot better, but this is just for display purposes. Nothing was 100% dialed in. You saw me open it. This is the first time I'm actually ever even using it. I mean, do I like it? Yes, I actually do like it. Foot pedal, probably my only little thing, just because I'm not used to it. But I mean, if it was the first welder you bought, this is all you'd be used to, you'd probably love it. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it for welding aluminum on here. I give this welder an A+. I'd like to see how it does and holds up. I mean, I'll use it, and I'll come back and I'll do a couple more videos on it. I'll also do steel, some stainless maybe, and then eventually venture into the MIG and go from there. Thank you for watching.